This is Dana Scott with UBL TV, interviewing Coach Kenneth Thompson. Hi, Coach. How are you today?
Fine. How are you? Thank
Well,
you for having me.
So how did you get started in sports?
I grew up in a big household. There was 9 of us. I just figured sports was an outlet for me to burn off some of my energy as a young child. And as I got older, I went more from wanting to play to coach. So.
And why did you start UBL?
I started UBL to at first give exposure to Connecticut student athletes and professionals that weren't getting the exposure that I feel that they deserved. But now I feel that UBL can branch out to be more of something that covers not only Connecticut sports, but sports throughout the world. You know, from the smaller sports to the bigger sports that aren't really being covered, as like overseas, certain states. Some of those student athletes aren't being exposed. Some of those professionals aren't being exposed. So that was the premise behind UBL.
What do you think about mainstream media's coverage of sports today?
I think mainstream media's coverage of sports is very limited as far as they only cover just the major sports. They don't cover the overseas sports like they should. They don't cover certain states' high school sports like they should. And that again was the premise behind UBL too. Also, you know, we want to cover those sports that aren't being covered. You know, I mean, recently I did an interview for pickleball. Never heard of pickleball ever in my life, but it was a great experience for me. So little things like that mean a lot to the people that play those sports, and I want to be a part of that.
So I see that you want UBL to be different. How does UBL bridge that gap?
Just continue to focus on those sports, and I mean, you know, sooner or later, social media or whoever they'll pick up on it. It'll become a trend, which I see it becoming now.
Where would you like to see UBL in 2 years?
2 years, I would like for it to be an actual station. You know, where we have sponsors. We're traveling from different states, different countries, interviewing student athletes and professional athletes throughout the world.
So since the goal of UBL is to provide exposure to student athletes, how do they get that information to you? How do they get that out there?
They can email me at unitedballinlife@gmail.com. They can hashtag UBLGWF. They can Instagram at UBLGWF, or they can go to our YouTube station and subscribe to the interviews that we do. Become a member of that also.
So as a parent who didn't necessarily have any children that played sports actively, how do you stay so involved?
Just the love of the game, all games, So I mean that's how I stay involved. My kids they really weren't interested in sports. They play instruments, which was fine with me. That kept me grounded as a coach. That kept me grounded as as a parent. But yeah, I just love the game. I just love dissecting things. I love just watching sports in general, whether it be golf, tennis, basketball, bowling, doesn't matter.
So what can members of the UBL group on Facebook do to help with exposure?
Just continue to post information on their student athletes and other student athletes that they feel aren't getting the exposure they deserve. They can just continue to post things on the group page. And we'll get the word out. I mean, they can have those young men or women set up interviews with UBL.
What other projects are you involved in?
I have a nonprofit, the Gussie Wortham Foundation, and I also have an AAU program, which I think is a little different from most AAU programs, and it's education before basketball. Our main goal is to seriously focus on student first, athlete second, whereas a lot of AAU programs, they focus more on the athlete and what the athlete can bring to their programs. We don't want to be a part of that circle. We want to be totally different from, you know, most programs. We don't want to be the program that says, oh, we made this kid. That kid made himself. You know, that kid is the one that came into the gym or on the field or on the court or wherever and put in the work. No adult makes a player. A player makes himself. You know, they grow on their own. You can't grow for them. They have to grow on their own. They have to go through good and bad experiences. You can't do it for them. You know, so we want to dispel that we made this kid, we made that kid type of stereotype that a lot of AAU programs bring to the table. You know, and they try to live off of a kid's name for years and years and years. We don't want to do that. We want the kid to be successful. If he decides to stay with us, fine. If he decides to go to another program, fine also. We wish him the best of luck.
So let's talk about your support system. You're busy with UBL, you work a full-time job, you have the Gussie Wortham Foundation, Education Before Basketball. How are you able to do all of that?
I have a great support system. I definitely have a great support system. I have people that really believe in what I'm doing. They back me. They love me on my good days. They love me on my bad days. Whatever I need, and they see that I'm lacking in, they're there. Automatically there, and I love them for it. I definitely love them for it. I'm not a tech savvy person, so I have 2 women in my life that are blessed with being tech savvy, and that has made my life so much easier as far as UBL and, you know, the Gussie Wortham Foundation and EBB goes, because I got, instead of one idea, I have 3 or 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 ideas floating around that I can choose from now. Instead of being limited, I have my ideas are expanded. So I'm blessed. I'm very, very blessed to have a great support system. Really, really great support system.
Now, we have parents, we have coaches, we have students that are a part of UBL. How do we get them more involved?
I invite them to the group. And as group members, they can post the successes and, you know, things that their child is going through. So that involvement there is big. That's really, really big, because the more members we get to the group, the more kids we can expose. And, you know, that way coaches, if they want to look at that group and check out these young men and women, they can. They're free to do it. It's a free group. You know, it's no ulterior motive behind the group. It's just to help kids that are trying to improve their lives and get out of the situations that they're in. A lot of kids are in the inner city. They're not getting any exposure. Their daily living is kind of rough. So, I mean, just for them to go on the group page and be like, wow, man, look, somebody actually noticed what I did today, and, you know, my GPA, you know, I had a good game, you know, my team won. Small things like that don't mean a lot to us, but it means a lot to those student athletes that don't get the exposure. So that's what we want to do, and that's what we want to encourage the parents to do more of. It's not a matter of you doting on your child. It's just a matter of you saying, you know, I'm proud of my child, and this is what my child is doing.
So I know one of the reasons why you started UBL was because of the lack of exposure. How do people, besides with UBL, say a parent puts together a video of their child, how do they get that video to UBL so that you can get that video out there?
They can email it to me at unitedinballandlife@gmail.com, and we'll post it on the YouTube channel. We'll post it also on Facebook, and, you know, we can also send it out to coaches if that's what needs to be done.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you for your commitment to student athletes and to students and sports in general, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This is UBL signing out. Bye-bye.